I'm genuinely interested in how you did it.
It's a good story.
So today's guest built a media empire from scratch with over 50 million downloads. Tony D'Urso's podcast has hit #1 on Charitable globally. He's interviewed everyone from Wesley Snipes and Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, and Kevin Harrington, who was one of the original sharks on Shark Tank, also known for pioneering the infomercial. And Tony is a best-selling author of a Tolkien-style fantasy novel. So we're going to be driving into traffic, storytelling, and vision here on The Competitive Edge. So please stick around because storytelling and strategy drive traffic for the ultimate hook story offer marketing formula that almost every millionaire follows. So thanks again, Tony, for being here. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. I'm really glad and grateful to be here on Competitive Edge, and I hope to share some good information with your followers and audience that they can use right away to grow as well, because what I did just shows that it can be done. Anybody can do it. It just takes that perseverance.
Yeah, you walked away from a 6-figure corporate career to start this. And what was that moment like when you decided to just bet on yourself?
Well, the story behind the story is, I had set up a company. I had started the company. I did the fundraise, and just from angels and people we knew, I raised like $3.25 million and started a company. And I became the VP sales and marketing for that. And I learned a lot of lead generation. I learned a lot of sales. And historically, in my, let's call it corporate America careers, is it careers? Or I'm being slightly silly. Many different jobs and worked at many different places doing promotion, sales, marketing. But here I really focused in on lead generation. And the internet was just, this is the year 2000. The internet was really nothing. It was a business card. Are you on the internet? People go, who needs it? It's just a business card. It didn't do anything. And so I didn't use that to fundraise, but I did use it to learn how to generate interest, getting people to opt in and stuff like that. And it went very, very well. And after about 7 years of that, I had the opportunity to have my own company in lead generation, run my own company, as opposed to being in a company working for others. So I like the idea of being my own boss and having my own lead gen company. It was where I was going. So I took the leap of faith. And yes, I did leave a good, nice income career. And I went into that, and that was okay. But what happened, Christy, is in 7 years of doing that, 4 different times, we had major, and I mean major, sweeping federal governmental regulations that just changed everything. Just as in the way the issues, let's call them issues, of 2021, 22 changed the whole world. I had those that changed marketing. Just all of a sudden, here's an example. I go into work on a Monday, and one of my clients, I'm doing $1 million a year in sales. And just in sales to one client. I have multiple clients. They canceled. Why? Well, another federal regulation came down, another how-to protocol came down, and they could no longer do or perform or accept marketing services the way that they were. Everything had to be retooled, had to cancel. And that went the same for all my clients. It was just 4 times in 7 years. I got really tired of it. And I thought, what can I do that I can control, that I could run, that I could operate myself? What can I do to be more protocol proof, if you know what I mean, immune a little bit more from sweeping governmental or regulation or business or political changes? And I kept hearing this word, Christy, called podcast. I'm like, what is this? So I looked into it. It was like, I could do this. I could talk. I'm Italian. That part I got. And I know enough about lead generation. Maybe I could, bring people to my show instead of make other people rich and make other people famous. Maybe I could channel all these people my way. And it worked. It worked. The logarithms changed. The algorithms changed. 22,365 different social media platforms evolved, and some went bust and some changed. And what's available and workable today is not available tomorrow. And I can tell you that right now. I've had to ride the wave and crash into the rocks many times on social media. But the basics are the basics, Christy. If you know the basics, no matter what, and it's knowing the basics that saw me through, knowing the basics of marketing, of promotion. It's some key points, which you hear today, but there's a lot of noise and a lot of information and a lot too much information. And you don't necessarily know which is good or not until you spend all this time going through it. There's great videos, great books, great webinars, uh, and the same applies to. And this is why my podcast worked. Is this. You cannot read everybody's book. You cannot take everybody's webinar. You cannot take everybody's seminar. You can't take everybody's class. You can't hang out with everybody and follow them for the rest of your life. It's just there's not enough time to do it. And I thought, well, I can curate and bring on people that are very knowledgeable and bring that to an entrepreneurial audience, a small business audience that's growing or thinking of starting a new business or a new project, and curate and bring this knowledge to them. And it worked. It worked very, very well. So there was my vision, there was my purpose, there was how I was going to accomplish it. And all I have to do now is just market to, hey, here's how to run a business while being married. Here's how to do your sales better. Here's how to do HR better. Here's how to do all these things better not from me, but from the experts who are literally household names in their category. They're well known. You mentioned Jack Canfield, for example, Mark Victor Hansen. Everybody knows Chicken Soup of the Soul.
Yes.
It sold over 500 million copies. I've interviewed both of them. I've interviewed their editor. I've interviewed another author of theirs. I am also in their 30th anniversary special edition book, as well as an author. So it's curating all this and this information to the people, and the titles. You can look through the titles and understand. Well, how do you grow? How do you brand? How do you market better? And that's the stuff that I am learning from my guests, and I've learned from my guests. Now here's the circle part. It goes in a big circle because my guests teach me, I apply it, I do better, and I teach the audience, and it just keeps going in a big circle. I am a testament, or I should say, my show's success is a testament to the knowledge and information given by the all my guests. It works if you follow it and apply it. There's
You're a case study. You're a case study. So it's interesting because we know each other from the lead gen business back in 2005. And according to compliance, yes, because of permission-based marketing, and those were the lending tree days and the AmeriQuest days. And yes, very, very interesting. And now let's talk about circular economy. Now you're coming here and you're talking about your podcast on my podcast. And so I'm so grateful for that. And yeah, and this influencer marketing, when we talk about these different, chicken soup for the marketer's soul, influencer marketing, I can tell you that according to the Influencer Marketing Hub in 2023, influencer-led strategies help businesses grow traffic 3 times faster in their first year. So if you're a business out there and you've been on the fence, ask yourself, what kind of a bold move like Tony made to leave his comfortable career, to move on to something else, to take that step of faith that you would consider. And I also understand that most podcasters quit within a year, Tony. So what's kept you going? I know you're leading into that now, but while others would fade out, what's kept you going?
Most podcasters leave 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes. There's a word in the dictionary, Christy. It's called pod fake. Can you believe that? It's actually in the dictionary. It's actually in the dictionary. Amazing. Because they're not able to monetize it, because they didn't make income from it and I've run into podcasters. I've run into them. And yeah, sure enough, between 6 and 10 or 12 episodes or somewhere in that neighborhood, they stopped because it just wasn't making the income for them. There's a lot of factors to unpack. This would be a whole series to talk about on why and how to prevent that. But some of the things, and nobody wants to hear this next part, and some of the key most influential people in the world say the opposite to this, and so be it. But to me, it still makes sense and it still works. When you are podcasting, whatever it is, it's because you enjoy and you love and you have a passion for that item. If you're just podcasting because you just want to make a quick buck and go somewhere, people do that, but there's no longevity in it. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I get up. I started at the very beginning doing this, Christy, because I loved it, because I wanted it. Nobody pays you when you start podcasting. Nobody's knocking on the door and begging you, here's some money, throwing it at your feet saying, please podcast. You're just starting. So I say, talk about what you love. What is your passion? What do you enjoy doing? Why are you going to get up every AM and work on it? Why are you going to work long hours? Why are you going to do 100 hours a week or whatever to get it out? It's because you love it, because you want it. And that's going to see it through to being a good quality. Case in point, orchids. I love orchids. I know there's not one behind me. Mine, I'm working on getting mine to bloom right now. But I love orchids, and I can do a podcast on orchids on all sorts of types because I truly love what God has created with this flower. It's amazing. And not to be an orchid commercial, but now here I am podcasting. During the day, I'm 9 to 5. I'm a cashier at a store. I'm a manager. I'm a clerk. I take care of stock. I work in an accounting office, whatever I'm doing. And now I have this podcast on orchids. Great. I love orchids. Great. So I can bring on sponsors. I can bring on people that talk about garden tools, garden accessories, garden tips, and bring an income from that. And at some point, it'll start bringing in income. And at some point, depending on how well you do it, you can ditch your day job. I mean, it can actually happen once you know that you've got the runway. So one of the things is, and that's why I say it's the first thing to me, and people will argue, is it's got to be something you'll do regardless of the income, because that's going to see you through the bad points. The key, one of the keys is getting your plays, how many people are playing your episode or how many people are downloading your episode, up to a sufficient number to attract sponsors. So those are a couple of things that you need to do. And aside from the standard, you have to know your podcast theme. You have to know when are you going to be there. People have to know when you're on. Are you once a week? Are you once a day? And you have to follow through. I'm on a new episode every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific. It's something, and it's an hour-long episode. It's an interview with somebody who's an elite entrepreneur, a term that I've used for a long time to signify that person who's very who's a household name in his category. Not that he runs the world or she runs the world or anything, but they're very, very well known. So I call them elite entrepreneurs.
I'll take that as a compliment because it's 2:00 on a Friday. So I'll take that as a compliment. And I'd like to interject that Tony's absolutely right. I mean, you have taken your visitors from less than 10 in 2015 to over 50 million downloads. And now I'm blessed to have you on the show right now. I'm very beside myself that you're willing to talk to little old me. And also, I want to remind the people watching that influencer-led strategies will help you increase your brand with 3 times faster within the first 12 months. So if there's anybody out there that does need a coach, Tony's the guy to do it. 100%. 100%. I'd like to ask you about the vision map, because I think we're going in this way. You were talking about a consistency plan. So oftentimes when I try to give people tips, I say, look, you need a 1-page simplified plan. And you've got to be able to have, you've got to be able to be flexible. So how can your vision map turn big ideas into that daily momentum for entrepreneurs that are trying to grow online?
I'm glad you asked, because that is truly and deeply and sincerely the secret sauce to my success. Because here I am in 2015 going into podcasting. I'd never been on radio before. I'd never recorded my voice or done anything like that before. I didn't like the sound of my own voice. I had no audience. I didn't know any successful people. I just knew, bosses and stuff in corporate America, whatever. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any big shots. I didn't know anyone influential. So I realized that I needed someone to teach me or just show me the ropes. I needed a mentor. I knew that. So I my first guest that I was talking to, because I was warming up trying to figure out how to do this, my first guest actually turned me on, referred me to my mentor, who happened to be a world-class, well-known in California radio announcer. In the past, I've called him a DJ because we grew up calling these people DJs, but today something else is now a DJ. So he's a radio announcer. He's a who's who. He's Michael Benner, and he taught me a couple things on radio delivery and stuff like that. So my style of my podcast has a radio influenced style, though I've never been on radio, even though it's a podcast. In other words, I have a commercial break and I have some music here and there. All right. So my guest also introduced me to a book by Jordan Adler called Beach Money. And it was the best book I ever read because it was exactly what I needed at the right time. God provided exactly what I needed. Jordan Adler in chapter 2 talks about how he is, if I'm not mistaken, chapter 2, he's destitute. You know, he's a loner. He's got no job. He's got no business. And you guys have heard the story. He's a failure. You know, he's nothing. And so he goes out to the park and I forget what was the catalyst for it, but he got this idea to write down his vision. So he wrote down his vision and painstakingly what he saw himself do in the future. And he wrote it, and then periodically he'd look at it afterwards and eventually forgot all about it. Circle back now, Christy, a couple of years later, Jordan Adler is moving. And in the move, he runs into that piece of paper and he looks at it, he reads it, and Jordan Adler gets down on the ground and starts crying. Why would he start crying? Because he was moving into a brand new house. He had the girl, the sweetheart of his dreams. And at that time, Jordan Adler was making $100,000 a month.
Hallelujah.
He had accomplished his vision. And just shows the power of that. And he gives some really great points throughout the book, which I have expanded deeply in what I call the vision map. The vision map is 8 steps. And what Jordan Adler did is very similar to what Bruce Lee did, Jim Carrey, Chuck Norris, Arnold Palmer. You've heard these people, and you probably have heard the term called vision casting. And they used it. They did it. You know, Bruce Lee wrote, I believe, a letter to himself. Chuck Norris would visualize his kicks. Arnold Palmer would visualize where the ball's going to go before he'd walk onto the tee. Jim Carrey had $1 million check he put in his pocket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it really works, but it needs a little bit more because there are people out there with the vision. Yet here they are sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day long, eating their snacks, never going anywhere. So there's more to the vision and vision casting than just having the vision, turning around and leaving it. So I expanded it. I developed it because at the time I didn't find any other material. And today I won't look. I don't know what other material is out there, but I've expanded it into 8 steps. And if I tell you some of these steps, Christy, you're going to say, Tony, we know those words. And I'll say, yeah, you do. You know sugar, you know flour, you know cream, you know milk, you know salt, you know vanilla, you know chocolate. Tony, we know these words. Give me something new. I said, great, wonderful. Christy, go into your kitchen right now and bake me one of the best chocolate souffles I've ever had in my life. And believe me, I've toured the world for chocolate souffles. I know what I'm talking about. You go, but wait, I'm not a chef. I go, well, there you go. I'm going to give you some words, but that just doesn't mean fly over the head. I expanded. I have a free giveaway on my newsletter page in my community resources called the Vision Map. I explain the steps very shortly, and I'm working on a book coming out that really, really goes into it. So I developed that for me, And I used everything I learned, everything I read. I'd done, had done the college route, the university route, and got my degree and all that. So I put everything together as best as possible at how to create that success, that reality. And again, contrary to what the most popular people in the world will say, it's a little different for me, because the first step I have is your vision, is where you're going. And would you like me to go into that?
Yes, please. That's my next question. Give me the 8 steps.
All right. Well, it'll take some time for 8 steps, but I'll definitely give you a couple, Christy.
Okay.
The way I see vision and the way I interpreted all this information I had at the time, 10 plus years ago, was it's like a child. You're playing a game. You're dreaming. You're creating your own movie. You go into the future. You turn around, you look back, and you go, what did I create? Now, that's a really interesting concept. But again, act like a child, you play. So I went into the future, turned around and said, I'm interviewing the most successful people in the world that I didn't even know the names of at the time, but I interviewed them. And, I wrote some books, and millions of people did watch and listen to my podcast, et cetera, et cetera. And I wrote this out very, very thoroughly. And then I condensed it into one strong, powerful sentence. I'd have to pull it up in the docs, but do you want to hear it? Okay.
I want to hear it. And while you're looking that up, I can tell that this consistency plan and this visual map is, I've learned before, I think it's actually in the Bible, that when a man wants to build a cabinet, he has to conceive the design first. Then he can build the cabinet. Then he can build it. So it sounds like you've got to have a consistency plan, and that you've got to visualize the success. And then you've got these tools that you've put forward for these people. And I hope that you can allow us to offer that free download on our channel for our visitors to be able to benefit from it too. If you've got this free download, would you be willing to?
Sure. It is free. Right now, if people that sign up for my newsletter, in the newsletter, there's a community resources section, and it's right there for download. If you want it another way, just let me know.
All right, we'll put that link down there, and we'll make that available, because this sounds like gold nuggets. Did you find that?
Yeah, I did. It's very handy. The vision is what the child dream, going in the future looking. The key accent is what you are doing. That's the key accent. Now, I have literally watched with my eyes. I know it sounds silly, right, to watch with your eyes. Watch with my eyes, hear with my ears.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the most literal name everybody in the world knows say the opposite. I've heard it. So that's why I say it's really based on what you're doing. So my vision that I wrote was hosting authentic internet radio and podcast talk shows where I interview some of the most successful entrepreneurs and celebrities in the world to find out how they made it, and to provide insights and advice to my audience, helping them in their career, their life, their business, and their relationships, thereby bringing a much better, saner, and happier world where everyone can smile big and bright as they advance to greater fulfillment in their lives and work environment. That's one meaty sentence, but it is literally one sentence. Because it's like, why, and what do you want from it? It wasn't just, so many people, I want to make $1 million. No, that's not a vision.
That's right. So you're putting in the ingredients. So what you have to find is what's compoundable. So I understand where you're coming from, and it does resonate quite a bit, because even some of your Eastern philosophies have to do with the mantras. I know there's a lot of Catholics out there where they'll repeat the beads. They'll pray on the beads. So this repetition, oftentimes with marketers, is our value-added proposition. So a problem well defined is a problem half solved. That was an influencer that taught me that. So the idea that you're actually building a consistency plan and being able to see it, now you've got to become it. They even use these type of things with parents. fatherless homes. Like, we have to see one to be one, and breaking the cycle. So it's very easy to want to make $1 million, but is it a hobby? Is it a fantasy? Or is it actually something that you can make into a reality? That's why you were mentioning earlier about doing what you love and something that you don't even have to be paid for, because it has to have grit and authenticity, and a consistent voice. And so if you have passion and you want people to actually want to hear it, they're only going to, what do they say also? Motivation is contagious. Happiness is contagious. Negativity is contagious. So these energies transmit through us. When we would talk about sales rooms and sales lines and lead generation and building your brand and getting to these benchmarks of 50,000, or even talking to, the OG of Shark Tank. Well, what do these people have in common? What is it that they have that maybe you're seeking? And it's that it factor, that special one thing. And so I'm going to go with another fun fact that Lucid Press of 2021 found that brands with a consistent voice are 68% more likely to see growth. That consistency, it's passion. And this one statement that you came out with, that is gold. That's absolutely gold. And I would encourage anybody listening to this to really study it and look at it and understand what little keywords and what little things, when I'm looking at that sentence from Tony, how can I place my goal in there? It doesn't matter if you're building widgets, building tiny homes, you want to have a catering business. Why, where, how, what are those pieces in that recipe that Tony just gave you? That's the key. That's a secret key that can unlock success in your life. And you too can also have those numbers of downloads like Tony has. So I really love that. I really love that. And I would encourage people to audit themselves, audit their brand, and be consistent. So yeah, that's wonderful.
Thank you. And the reason, Christy, and I really appreciate you saying that because it resonates. It's so true. But the reason this step I have as number one, the reason some top people, and unfortunately it's in books and it's on videos and you hear it from podcasters, and they'll say that the number one thing is your purpose, is your drive. And I beg to differ. It's not. It's not, because in that dream, that kid dreaming that dream didn't sit there and go, why, who am I? Why am I doing? He just played. He just created this. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and just had all this fun. And it just works that way.
Mm-hmm.
It just works. Not that it's not as important, but it just works. So I've heard the best say, don't do it. But to me, it's worked very, very well. The second step now is your purpose. It's, why are you doing it? Who are you? Who are you being? And that is, you'll read that it should be the first, but to me, it just fits to be the second step. An analogy is like, if the vision is your vehicle, this is just a concept. The purpose, that would be your gas, your gasoline in the vehicle. Now that purpose, that gasoline helps you go faster down the freeway. It takes you, your vision, it takes you where you want to go on the freeway. But you have to use it. It has to be the right purpose. Otherwise, here you are back on that couch sitting there watching movies all the time. So it's got to be strong enough that you're going to get out and you're going to do things. You're going to drive. Drive is doing. Going places, that's doing. So you're driving, and it's a great analogy. So that's the way I look at purpose. Is it's that fuel that keeps you going, that keeps you driving, that takes you to where you need to be. Because remember, you'll get up every day, whether you make money or not, because you love doing it. So that's a good purpose.
Let me ask you. So, okay, I was going to ask you. So, do you think purpose is who you serve?
Purpose is who you are. It's who are you being? Are you an educator? Are you a teacher? Are you who are you? Who are you? Who are you? That it resonates with your inner core, your inner soul. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Those things together give you that, help you create and ignite that passion to accomplish what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that if people read that one statement, they'd be able to dissect it. Can I ask you a question? What part of the vision map do most people overlook, but actually drive traffic or visibility the fastest?
What do they overlook to drive visibility? Or
What's the most common thing they overlook, but it actually does? It's a mistake. They're overlooking something that does work and does give them the visibility the fastest.
I've got visibility, not income, because I've got great answers for every little piece. But to get your traffic, the best thing you're going to need, believe it or not, you've heard these words, you need a master plan. And that's on the vision map. You need a master plan. And the master plan has 2 steps and only 2 steps.
Okay.
I only needed 2 steps, so you could find 26,000, but for me, 2 things work. One is the strategy. The strategy is, where are you going to take your business, your podcast, your brand to get what you want? Where is it? In a military sense, we've determined that this island is a corridor between these nations, and if we could control that island, and if we could get a foothold there, we could control that corridor better and safeguard our nation or whatever. That would be a strategy. And part 2, the second part of that master plan, is your tactical. How are we going to get a foothold on this island or this area? How are we going to ramp up and grow our presence? How are we going to do that? And these take really deep thoughts. Now, just a little pause. Back in the day, when I was growing up watching Bugs Bunny, way back in those days, companies used to have 15, 20, 25-year plans. That's different today. You don't need a 25-year strategy. Today, you can make a millionaire in 24 hours or less. So, but you need a good strategy because there are trends, there are things happening. So a couple of years, not because you don't need it to grow, to be successful, but changes happen. So you need to look as far as you can, a couple of years down, because where's AI going to go? How is it going to go? How's it going to impact? How is this going to impact? You have to start looking at these things so that you better understand and can prepare for your strategy. Because I tell you one thing, the world's going to be different next week and the next week and the next week. But just like a ship sailing against the wind, going back and forth, you can see it coming, and you have to plan for that. So you need a couple of year strategy, and you need a good tactical, and you need to be able to change, because I changed constantly. Strategies changed because the world changed. Look at what happened in 2021, 2022. Even before that, my business, my podcast, I had major issues. I almost shut down my podcast several times. But my strategy and everything else kept me going, Christy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think where the traffic building would be and the visibility is to place yourself in front of where your target audience hangs out.
And that's really for real, getting your mindset. Who is my avatar? I.e., who listens to my show? How old are they? Where are they? How do they listen? Where do they go? And I don't know everything. I'm not a TikTok person yet. There's a lot of people that go on TikTok that would love my show. So I can only do what I can do, but just stretch myself. Where can I increase my presence? And I've learned something on that, which sounds not quite the opposite of what I'm saying, but it makes great sense. And that is, you can only be so much to so many people at one time, Christy. You can't be everywhere at every place at every time, just like you can't follow every person of importance and read and consume all their content. So you have to pick where you are at. And this is the second part of answering that question, where to go for your traffic, because it's in that strategy and in that tactical. Where can you be strong at? And again, I joked about saying that there's like 20-odd thousand social media platforms out there. They keep coming up, and they're all great. But really, you want to spend months and months or years growing up a new audience? So I say to you, Take your biggest social media platform, whatever it is. You're somewhere, grow that, push that, grow that, and then pick a second one. So I did. I grew my Twitter. Uh, it's like it's in the 6 digits, and then an auxiliary. The second was I started growing my LinkedIn. So now I have 2 giant social media arms in the 6 digits, and I'm just growing them and using them. I'm still available on others, but there's only so much, and there's constant new social media platforms. So it's like taking a good coffee and diluting it. You can't dilute it too much. You got to have some strength. So otherwise you'll dilute yourself. And therein is one secret. I have many on how to grow your traffic.
So basically you're talking about influence, monetization, and tactics. And I understand that your book is an amazing way of utilizing that hook story offer that we were bringing up in the beginning of the episode. What made you go with that book, and what made you pick this fantasy world within Atlantis and these power struggles and things like that? How did that come about, and how did you leverage that and incorporate it into this business?
It's an involved story because I'm known as it's called nonfiction. You're a nonfiction author. I have multiple books. I'm known as nonfiction. I'm a podcaster. I'm known as a serious person with some marketing and promotion and sales experience, et cetera, et cetera. So what am I doing writing a book about fiction? It doesn't fit. Well, years ago, a good associate friend of mine brought up this really great story, and I like to write. I've written some stories I've never published. I really enjoy writing, and this idea was brought to me, which was fascinating, and I loved it. And I thought, this is great, except I can't do anything with it because back then, I don't know what it's like today, but you're not allowed really in protocol wise to break your mold. You're known as a certain thing. You can't go jump ship. And I said, I can't really do anything with this. I can help develop the story. And I did. And I realized that because there's a co-author, it gives me an excuse to now put my name on a fiction book. So Hymen of Atlantis, which you can see here is the first 3 books. Hymen of Atlantis, book 1 is Bitten. We wrote it, and we developed this great idea, this great story. And when it's a great story, you know what happens, Christy? The story just writes itself, and it just keeps writing and writing. And it's going to be 8 or 9 books. Book number 4 is going to come out later this year. And we started writing about Atlantis and what happened in Atlantis, hundreds of years ago, so to speak. And I didn't plan for it to be a marketing leverage, but my marketing mind probably somewhere it's sitting there. I don't know, that it would be good to get more audience, to grow more audience, and it's helped. I've exceeded 50 million plays and downloads in the past decade, which is like really cool. So and I've brought on more followers, but the followers of the book, but they don't necessarily know about my podcast just yet. But at some point they'll run into it, and so it wasn't done to purposely grow the podcast, but when you're doing something in your branding or marketing and you have your name attached to something, be professional, make it look good, and it can only come back to make you look better and stronger.
Okay, so here's one more for you. What's the real secret to landing sponsors? Many of these people that listen to my content are just starting out, or they're in this middle no man's land of, I've got consistency, I've got motivation, I've got a great idea, I'm passionate, I believe in this, I want to go. So what's the real secret to landing sponsors? Again,
we'll do a long mini series on this. There's a lot of answers to this. To get a sponsor, what a sponsor is going to want and needs to see in order to commit his or her money or their money, company money, they need to see that you've got their audience that they're looking to approach. Obvious. They need a consistency. If you're doing a couple thousand downloads per episode, it's really not enough. It just really isn't to attract a big sponsor. But but there's more to it. Like I said, this is a mini series here. If you want bigger names, I've gotten big names on my show because I have, because they know that so many people will listen. So it's based on numbers, and it's based on the numbers and where they want sponsors. If you're in the U.S., sponsors are going to want to see a strong U.S. audience, and to get their interest, probably need at least 10,000 downloads per episode or more to really start getting a good sponsor. And the way that works financially, just to give you an idea, is the sponsors will pay on a cost per 1,000. So 10,000 people listening, downloading, playing your podcast on Apple Podcasts, for example, 10,000 equals 10 because it's divided by 1,000. And they'll pay you 20 up to around 25 or so dollars per 1,000. So 10,000 downloads brings you $250. There's kind of how your math is. So you want Coke, not Coca-Cola, IBM, Chevrolet, and Pepsi, and all these people, Mercedes-Benz. They're a different class, but your LinkedIn HR department, you want your Odoo, you want your Spotify, you want companies like that. They'll need to see a consistency, and they'll want to see screenshots and numbers. Now, if you need to make those kind of numbers, I've got a simple system where I can get you a lot of exposure, and it works out pretty well. And not here particularly trying to sell my business or not. Just contact me if you're a podcaster and you'd like to find out more. I'm happy to help you with it. But that's where you have to go. And once you're able to get to that level, then you at least know, hey, well, I can make $250 per episode. And then you can start working on your costs. What does it cost the podcast? How to market? Do you have any money left over to market? And things like that. I may be going in a wrong tangent because there's a lot of different places to go with that question.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, because I think micro influencers are kind of all the rage right now. And according to Influencer Marketing Hub from 2023, micro influencers, they average 60% higher engagement rates than some of the larger podcasters and influencers. So if you don't have those numbers, don't be intimidated. Don't quit. Don't give up. Pitch your niche. Don't necessarily pitch your numbers if you don't have strong numbers. And you could even negotiate on contingency. That there's a lot of affiliate programs out there. So even though, and I 100% on board with you, Tony, but I think that there are a lot of podcasters out there, YouTubers out there, budding influencers with small followers. They go, oh, gee, I'm kind of dead in the water now if I don't have these numbers. Don't think that way. Just pitch your niche, keep on going, keep consistent. And there are resources out there to help you promote in the meantime. And there are a lot of grassroots way of doing it to attract some notoriety and some PR tricks and things like that. So, are you ready for a little bit of go ahead. You want to say something?
On that, remember the Orchid podcast I was doing on the side? My Orchid podcast has 1,000 people a month listening to it. Okay, great. I'm not going to get LinkedIn or Twitter doing advertisements with me, but it's about gardening. I can go to the local. I can go to I can go try Lowe's and Home Depot and some of these places and as an affiliate, get some of their key items there on the site and talk and push them, just as you were saying as an affiliate. So now I've got 1,000 people listening to my Orchid podcast. Great. And then I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about, and I could talk about the types of pots or the types of gloves I use. And I say, link in the description below or whatever, and I can grow it. I can grow it and make money just with that 1,000. So yes, there are many ways to, like I said, this is a series of talks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, hopefully you'll be willing to talk with me again. I would really enjoy that. So are you ready for a little lightning round here before we wrap up?
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Let's try it.
What habit did you have to unlearn to finally scale up?
I don't know. What habit did I have to learn to finally scale up?
Unlearn.
Money. I would say that my actions would lead to money, because when you first start out podcasting, nobody's giving you income. You've got to do it because you love it. So I had to realize that I have to do this because it's the right thing to do. It's what I want to do. And for some people, it's very difficult to unlearn.
Okay, here's the next one. So I understand you started working at a very young age. How did that shape your business mindset?
I know what it takes. I know what it takes to make a dollar. A dollar is very precious to me. I'm not a stingy person. On the contrary, but I still value a dollar very, very much. And I don't buy things just for fun. Not too many.
Okay, I got two more for you. Two more. What's the biggest marketing mistake small businesses still make?
I think what I've said earlier is try to be on too many social media platforms at once. Just pick one or two and work that. Don't try to be everything all at once. That is, I think, one of the biggest things. Find where you're going, get that strategy in place. Most businesses don't have a strategy. They think they have a strategy. They'll tell you a joke of what's their strategy, but they don't have a strategy, and that's why they're not successful.
Yep, a one-page written business plan that you can refer to.
And may I say, out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millionaires and billionaires that I've interviewed over the past decade, Christy, not one, maybe possibly one, but not one had their life handed to them. Not one was given everything they needed every single day. They had their issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and you make a good point, and that's why you probably started working out of necessity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, same here. And I learned business from my grandfather and my father, and we grew up very poor. So I never got a darn thing unless I went out and earned it. Okay, here's the last one.
Okay.
Fantasy storytelling versus nonfiction. Which one is more effective at inspiring action?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Inspiring action to do what? What kind of action are we talking about? Action in the business world?
Yeah. Well, I guess it could be self-help or whatever action, for our own personal growth or business growth, I guess.
It has to be nonfiction, because take a look at that book, Beach Money by Jordan Adler. What that did for me, helped change my whole perspective on running and operating a good podcast.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Tony. I really do sincerely. Thank you so much, and for the attention you've given me, and you've helped me. And I've known about you much longer than I've known you personally. And the thread goes back to the late 1990s, early 2000s. Actually, I started in '99. I started in '99. Not my podcast, obviously. This is new, but I'm just so grateful that you're here, and you've shown us how building traffic is not a hack. That it's a craft, and that you're certainly an expert at it. And from interviewing elite minds to writing mythic fiction and mapping visions that become real and genuine. So you've earned every bit of that 50 million reach. And I just really encourage anybody listening to this to please subscribe to Tony D'Urso's show, and to grab I'm in of Atlantis, and to sketch out your own vision map.
And you can get the vision map free in that.
That's right. And we'll put that in there. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up myself, but we'll make sure that the links are there. And I'm sure that you will provide that newsletter where they can get that statement. I'd really love to have that and let people really kind of dissect that. It makes me think of those sentence structures when we were in elementary school, where you had to really look at the sentence. So it's resonated with me, and God bless. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.